Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we always motivate you, we inspire you, we're going to educate you today. Today we have a very, very dear guest. I'll tell you, she's a beautiful friend of mine. I had just the chance of sharing the stage with her live, and she brings a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and the one and only Miss Sandee. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Look, the crowd is going wild.
Woo! Thank you so much.
Welcome.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful
Yes.
for this opportunity.
Welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. I know the amazing, beautiful woman you are, but do me a favor. Introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show audience, if you don't mind, Miss Sandee.
Sure, absolutely. I'm Sandee Sgarlata. I am America's happiness coach, and I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a happiness and success coach and author, two-time award-winning author. My third book was just released, and I'm working on a couple more. So
Awesome. Well, you know what? You bring so much energy, so much happiness, so much life. Every time I see, right, we were at the event and you're just like, you're always smiling. And I just love that about you. So let me ask you this, like, you do amazing, amazing, amazing work. What's one of the best parts about being a happiness coach, Sandee?
it keeps me on my own toes every single day, because just like you and all the listeners out there, life happens while we're busy making other plans. And I've just been on this mission for 32 years that happiness is a choice. And so by being a happiness coach, I am always reminding myself, so that, when a curveball is thrown my way, that I'm like, okay, you got this. And you have all of the tools in your back pocket. And I just start pulling them out and I apply them to my own life. And, but I just want to share that message with people. I live in the DC metro area, and it's kind of an uptight part of the world to live in. And I just, your neighbors don't say hello. And, just people are angry when they're driving. And it's just,
It's
I
not,
think
it's not like being in Texas.
no. Oh my gosh, Texas is just how you doing? I mean, everybody's so friendly there. And I think
Oh,
it's just, I've just wired myself to just always, I smile at everybody, because you never know what that person's going through. And that
yeah.
one smile that you give that person, that little bit of act of kindness, could really change someone's day.
Yes, I agree with you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a part of the show where I tell you, get out your pen and papers, get out your pen and papers, because Miss Sandy Scarlata is going to drop some massive wisdom, some massive bombs, and you definitely want to catch some notes on this. Remember, when you write down the answer, when you write down what you're thinking, what she's talking about, what we're going to talk about in this episode, you retain over 50% of it, and it's going to help you to go back and just take away those golden nuggets. So, Sandy, I love what you said. It's like demographically, there's different areas of the country where here in Texas, everybody says howdy, right? I was looking at a video where people moved here from out of state, and the other state are like, oh no, they're coming. Who are they? And like, we just came to say welcome to the welcome to the neighborhood. But some people are used to that. But let me ask you this: regardless of the demographic or what state you come from, what do you
Mhm.
see are the top two reasons that people don't find happiness?
It's stress. I think stress is the number one reason, and it consumes so many people. And the other thing is, I don't feel like a lot of people really take the time to recognize their thoughts and pay attention to their thoughts, because it's our thoughts that are causing us that sense of being unhappy. And we have control over our thoughts. And so often people, they want to train for a marathon, or they want to, be better at, basketball, or be a better podcaster, better author, better right, whatever the case may be. And you work at it, right? When it's something out here, people tend to it's like they see that goal and they work towards that goal, and there may be actionable steps that you can take to get there. And what people aren't recognizing is the same is true for happiness, is that it's a destination, not a journey, and that it's something that takes practice every single day, because you're building that muscle. I always say it's like building a muscle.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I love what you're saying, because it definitely takes work. And I love the way you did your hand gestures. Like, 'cause I think so many times I was guilty of this. We think that the happiness is from the outer extremes, right? By the cars that we drive or the house. I'll be happy when I get my new house. I'll be happy
Right.
when I get that promotion. Or I'll be happy when I'm keynoting at this big old event. And it's like, and we expect those outer life experiences, what we're creating for ourselves, because we're actually creating it to make us happy. And no, it's like it's an inside job. So how does somebody start, right? Just give us, what are two steps that you would say, Sandee? I want to believe what you're saying. I want to believe that there is such thing as a happiness coach, but I've never been happy my entire life. And they just, one of those, unfortunately, there's people out there that just never find that happiness, right? They're always looking for the next career, the next job, the next boyfriend, the next girlfriend. And, and we put everything off on everybody else, but it's like, what are some words of wisdom which you can tell somebody right now that says, I want to believe this, Sandee, but I don't know how to go about it. What are two practical steps that you can give us here to add some value to the audience, Sandee?
That's an excellent question. I will try to shorten it down to two steps,
No, no,
because
no, just take your time, right? We're having fun here. So I love talking to you anyway. So we're having a conversation here.
so there's always a reason why people are unhappy. And usually it's something that happened in our life, and and it's there, and it's always kind of like reminding them of, whether it's like imposter syndrome, or you're constantly comparing yourself to another person, or you're always chasing after that carrot like you were talking about. So the first step is really awareness, and like, well, what is it that I keep comparing myself to, or what is it that, like, there's something that is consuming your thoughts, that's causing you that sense of unhappiness. So you have to become aware of what it is. Just like an addict has to become aware that there's a problem, right? If
Yes.
you don't know that it's a problem, you're never going to be able to change it. So you have to really get vulnerable with yourself and be honest with yourself, and take a good look in the mirror and just say, what is it that's holding me back? Do I need to, spend more time with my family? Do I need to meditate? Do I need to pray? Do I need to exercise? What are the elements that are missing in my life? Once you have that, and you then it's all about paying attention to your thoughts. So let's just say, if you're constantly comparing yourself to somebody else, and when I say that, it's generally like, well, I'll be happy when I have that car, because my neighbor has that car and that's what I want. What you're doing is you're comparing yourself to somebody else. So when
Yes.
you have those thoughts, you need to shift those thoughts, and you need to stop it right there. When that thought enters your mind, allow it to come in, because it's going to show up, and then pay attention to it and switch that thought to something that's more positive.
So how does somebody switch the thought? Somebody's listening to us, are like, okay, how do I switch my thoughts? So we allow the thoughts to come in,
Mm-hmm.
and what does somebody do? We'll just say, I'll just say, man, Sandee bought a brand new Rolls Royce. I want a Rolls Royce like Sandee now. And I let that thought come in, and it's just negative. So how does somebody combat that instantaneously, right at that moment?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So basically, what you want to do is, when that negative thought comes into your mind, you want to come up with a positive one. And this goes back to the awareness. So if you're recognizing that you're always comparing yourself, and you think that you need to have that car, be proactive and say, okay, when I have that thought, I'm going to switch that to a different, more positive affirmation. And because really what you're saying is, it's a lack. You're feeling a lack of something, and you want to replace that feeling of lack with something positive, such as, I have abundance in my life, everywhere I look. The universe is always providing for me. Whatever resonates with you, because it has to come from you and your heart in order for it to really, be effective for you.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying, because I was just in California, and I'll tell you, it's amazing. I love talking to just different people, because you're always learning, right? I always
Yeah.
love to hang out with people that are I don't want to say older, more senior than me. I use the word more senior, more wisdom. I was just with a friend of mine, Don, multi-millionaire producer out of California, and he, to what you said, he said this. He goes, Daniel, I just got out of this big debate, and he was laughing, right? I said, why are you laughing, Don? Because somebody said that there's lack in the world and there's scarcity. And he said, there isn't. He goes, it's all abundance. Because what people fail to do, what you just said, right? This is what you're saying in a different way, but he says abundance will take on the form that you give it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have an abundance of joy, you can have an abundance of joy. We say have an abundance of wealth, you can have an abundance of wealth. But the part that they miss, Daniel, is the law of abundance takes any form. So if someone focuses on the lack in their life, they're going to have an abundance of lack. They're going to have an abundance of not enough. So sometimes when people have that comparison, I'm just saying that because that's what we're talking about. It's like no matter what you do, you're going to have that mindset, that comparison, because you have the wrong abundance. You have the abundance of lack.
Yeah.
And it's just
That's
like,
right.
I was like, wow. He goes, Daniel, he goes, everything is frequency, everything is energy.
That's
Everything
right.
is frequency and energy. He goes, are
Mhm.
you going to rise to a higher frequency, or are you going to stay there and have the law of abundance take the wrong form?
Yeah.
And I love what you're saying, because, ladies and gentlemen, listen to what Sandee's saying. Are you comparing yourself right now? And it could be something so small that you just look in the mirror. Maybe you're saying, I'll be happy when I'm down the dress size, or I'll be happy when I get a new car, or I'll be happy when, whatever it may be happy with what you have right now.
Yeah.
Tell yourself that affirmation. I love what Sandee said, right? Create an affirmation that says, I have an abundance of happiness. I have an abundance of joy. Start declaring that over your life,
That's
because
right.
it really starts from the inside. And the only way to combat those negative thoughts in our brain is really, you got to switch that record player, and you got to put on a new song. And if you find yourself really battling just to be happy, and this is the thing, a lot of times what's that I see that hurts me, Sandee, just in my coaching business, is you see somebody that's not happy, and right away they try to, without even being aware of it, like you said, they pass on that unhappiness to other people, or they judge other people, or they make other people feel less than, right? They try to make themselves feel better instantaneously by putting other people down. Talk to us about that. How come that happens?
There's actually a psychological term for that. It's called, and now I hope it's like at the tip of my tongue. It's egomaniac with an inferiority complex. That's the technical term for it. Now, I am not a psychologist, but I probably could be, because I spent many years in therapy. So,
You and me both.
I know, right? So your ego, our ego is so powerful, and it wants to, it actually is trying to protect us. So that your egomaniac part of your brain is trying to protect you. And that's what it's really doing, but it's not protecting you. It's actually hurting you. So you feel bad because you're looking at this other person and they have something you don't have, or you think they're better than you. And what you do, and we do this, people do it all the time with celebrities, right? They feel like, oh, they're a celebrity. They're a celebrity. I have a right to judge them. Well, no, you don't. Right. And, so by putting them down in a weird, twisted way, your ego, it's like feeding your ego is what it's doing. And so your ego is satisfied. But what that does is, talk about energy. It's lowering your own energy big time. It's putting you into a really, really, really low space.
Yeah.
Really low space.
Yeah, because the thing is, you can't listen to this, data, because I love what Sandee just said. When you put other people down, it lowers you. You can't expect, somebody needs to hear this. You can't expect to build a successful life going through your entire life putting other people down, tearing other people down.
That's right.
You can't build success by tearing others down. It doesn't work that way. You
No, it
reap what
does
you
not.
sow. It doesn't, right?
Nope.
Talk to us
And
about
here's the,
that.
yeah, well, I want to also add in there because, and I'll get right back to that. You reap what you sow. When you're comparing yourself to another person, a friend of mine said this to me once, and I wrote about it in my book because it really hit me. When you're comparing yourself to somebody else, you better be willing to accept 1,000% of the good of that person and 1,000% of the bad parts of that person, because I promise you, you do not want the bad parts of that person. Like I've had people say to me, "Oh, Sandee, I wish I was you," and I'm like you do not want to be me. No, 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 no. I know my baggage. I own it. I don't want anybody else's. I've got enough of my own. I don't want to be like anybody else because I have my own stuff. I don't want any more of that. Like I have my own stuff and I'm comfortable with it. I know what it is, you know. So if you compare yourself to somebody else, you have to be really ready to take 100% of what they are, good and bad. I
Yeah.
promise you, you don't want the bad.
You know,
But here,
yeah, I love this conversation because people don't realize, like myself, just like what you said, I've had to do a lot of work on myself these past 5 years. I'm not even done. I don't even know, right? I think God just allowed me to deal with the surface stuff because if I deal with everything, my head's gonna explode because it's too much. And I think that people need to realize that there's people that deal with life's issues and there's people that deal with life's issues. So are you going to go deeper and deal with that shame? Are you going to deal with that guilt? Are you going to deal with that regret? Are you going to deal with that unforgiveness? And many times it's those underlying issues that are buried deep down inside of us, those emotions, those feelings that we've suppressed over and over because we don't allow ourselves to really be real because we try to right? We try to have a personification that everything's great. Oh, I'm happy, right? And I'm glad we're talking about this during with the happiness coach because there's people that fake between like they're oh everything's great and there's not. That's just their defense against dealing with real life issues. But talk to us about why is it so important to really do the work on yourself to find happiness? Because I can tell you honestly, I didn't realize how unhappy I was in some areas of my life be 6 years ago. I thought because I had the Corvettes, I had the job, but it was still Daniel, right? And for me, it was just really some regrets that I had and unforgiveness. And the person I had to forgive, I've said this many times, it was me. But how does that cause you not to be happy?
such an amazing question and so important because we're kind of like, we're like an onion, and we're peeling those layers away. Here's the thing, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying, reaping what you sow. So whatever we put out in the world, we're going to get back tenfold. Okay. Because we're energy. So think of it this way. Have you ever had a bad day? You get up, you stub your toe and you're like, just stubbed my toe. And then you walk around the corner and you hit your elbow and then you spill your coffee. And then it's a ripple effect. Okay. Because you started off with that one little thing. Oh, here we go. Whatever's going on in my mind, here we go. Another great day ahead of me. And it just keeps going downhill. Okay. Now, if you're not dealing with all of these underlying things that are laying there, what's going to happen is every time a little something shows up in your life, that shame, that guilt is going to surface. And you're going to react based on those past things that are there. Because every time something happens, our very first reaction, 100% of the time, is always going to be emotional. So if you're holding on to a lot of guilt, regret, shame, anger, bitterness, when something happens, it may be a different, you may just get bitter right away, or you may just get angry, or you may feel shameful, or you're just, something's going to come up. So by not dealing with that, it's just going to keep replaying over and over and over in your life until you finally deal with it. And then once you deal with it, it still may show up, but at least you'll be aware of it. Because if you take the time to deal with a situation that causes you deep emotional pain, shame, guilt, whatever the case may be, and you work on that situation, it's in your awareness. And that's what it's just that awareness,
Yeah.
and,
I love
you
that,
know,
right? Because you like think about what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Me and Sandy just shared the stage, and it was a beautiful thing to see how just talking about, right? Sometimes the shame, right? We'll just say the shame. The shame is so big that we hide it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hello, newsflash. Everybody has skeletons in closets. Everybody does. I don't care who you are. Everybody does.
that's right.
And when you open that door to that closet with the skeletons, then there's no more condemnation. There's nothing to hide. You don't have to have like and the beautiful thing about when we're at Sticker Shock and these speakers get on stage and share their story, like so many people just cried, and you can see the healing that was taking place in their souls. So why am I saying this? Because when you talk about it, it really brings a rejuvenation. It really brings healing to your soul because you're
Yes.
releasing all those toxins. You're releasing all those negative, just knots, right? They're negative energy knots that are stuck in you. And it's just beautiful when you see the people that leave. They're like, wow, like I never thought that. I wasn't even planning on talking about them. But what happens is you open up the bottle and all those emotions come out, and they're like, where did that come from? Some of this crap's been there, right? I'm 48. I'm going to be 49 here in October, but some of that stuff was there from 17, 18, right? Some
Yeah.
of that was there from 20. So you just don't know. We don't realize how much emotions are locked up, and a lot of that is just even resentment that we have. You don't realize how much I've built up. So let me ask you this: when was the time that you really realized, I got to do some work within myself? Give us some wisdom that what are some signs maybe that people can look for that you saw in yourself that you said, this isn't natural, right? I really want to be happy. Why am I not happy? What is it that I have to look in the mirror? What really caught your attention when you said, maybe I need to work on myself?
Mm. There have been so many things. And I mean, for me, the big thing was that I hit rock bottom with a cocaine addiction back in 1990. So that was the catalyst for me, um, going down this path. But what I can tell you is so that's been 32 years now. What I can tell you is that, kind of like there's a season, right? Like things were really good for so long. And then all of a sudden this year, it was like Pandora's box opened up again. And I had all of these things just started surfacing for me. And I'm like, whoa, and here I thought, wow, I thought I had worked on all this, and I have. It's just sometimes there's still residual things that come up. And, God only gives us what we can handle, and when we can handle it. And I feel like that's what it was, that I was in a space emotionally that I could handle it this year. And I was dealing with it. Oh gosh, there were so many things this year. Let me think of an example. Well, this wasn't necessarily this year, but it's still an ongoing thing. And it goes back to the makings of a millionaire mind. I realized about a year and a half ago that I had a horrible relationship with money. And it was coming from that lack and that scarcity that I was raised with. I was raised by parents who were raised by parents from the Depression. You may have heard this. It's a thing here in the United States.
Yes, it's real.
My generation was raised by parents that were raised by parents that were in the Depression. So my father would annoy the what out of us and drive 20 minutes out of the way to save $1 on light bulbs.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yes.
that's how I grew up. And so I realized I made money like this big thing, like money's it's this object, and it's this like thing that you're reaching for. It's not. It's no different than this pen I'm holding up right now. It's just a tool. Money's just a tool. So I had to do some serious introspection over the past year and a half. And you know what? I was a millionaire, went through a divorce, totally broke. And now I'm back to where I was again, being another millionaire. It's great, right?
Yes.
But I wasn't looking at it like that, right?
Yeah.
I didn't recognize and I didn't have that gratitude that was needed to create more abundance in my life. I mean,
Yeah.
who can say that? You know, I was poor, was rich, was poor, was rich. I mean, it's just like, when you go through that multiple times, like, yeah, I can do it again. I can create more abundance in my life. And it was just becoming aware of it, that relationship wasn't there. That's just one example. I could talk for 5 hours
No, but it's
about this.
important. It's important because people are trying to understand. I think right now, right, there's so many unhappy people. There's no people. Another way to put it that is they have no fulfillment. And the thing is, they don't realize. I love what you said because money doesn't bring happiness, but money does make life a lot easier.
Yeah, of
And
course it does.
the biggest thing that people, they're like, well, I don't want money. I just want to be happy. Well, hello, you just like what you said. We can't pay our water bill. We can't pay our light bill, right? Regardless if your house is paid off or not, you're gonna have a light bill, you're gonna have a water bill, and you're gonna have a phone bill. How are you gonna pay these things? How are you gonna pay for gas? So doesn't it make sense to really just embrace the fact that it's part of life, but how can I really attract more wealth, more money to me, and
Right.
find that happiness that I deserve? And something that I tell some of my clients, something that my coach really brought to me was because think about it, right? People are not happy. Why, Sandee? Because damn it, I gotta pay my bills. And even as our business has grown, our monthly expenses went from 1,000 to 2,000, 5,000. Now we're 10,000. We passed 10,000. I mean, we have a big monthly overhead, which is it's great because God takes care of it. But it was something that happened. It's like my coach says, try saying this, and maybe this will help our audience. And I want you to elaborate on this. So I tell myself now, I am ridiculously happy that I get to pay XYZ. I am ridiculously happy that I get to pay our automobile insurance. I am ridiculously happy that I get to pay for my new Corvette. I am ridiculously happy that I get to pay for our monthly mortgage. I am ridiculously happy that I get to pay $4,000 for my wife's new Christmas bag or whatever it is. But when you take that approach, you really find joy because I believe that because our business has grown so much is the reason because as soon as we get an invoice, as soon as we get something, we pay it right away. We pay it within the first 24 hours because I know what it's like to try to even get to 3,000 a month, 5,000 a month. It was been a while, a long, long while, but I remember those days. And if you have the means to pay them, don't let scarcity get in your way. Go out there and just pay that invoice right away.
Yeah. Well, what you're talking about is you're expressing gratitude. And when you brought that up, I was actually going to use a very similar example. For me, I just say I am so grateful that I have the means to pay this invoice. Or when I go and I buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks, I say in my mind, I am so grateful that I have the means, I have the money to pay for this cup of coffee. Because you're thanking it, and we're just recycling it. And sometimes I'll say that, oh, I'm so happy I was able to recycle that money back into the economy,
Yeah.
and it's just expressing that gratitude. But that was a big game changer for me that I never, and I'm like a gratitude queen, I'm always, that's one of my biggest tools, gratitude. You can gratitude your way out of any negative emotion. Right. I say
Yes.
gratitude your way out of, because you can. If you need to make a quick shift, just focus on everything you're grateful for. But just remember to come back and really deal with those negative emotions. Because gratitude's great in a quick fix. However, if the same thing keeps showing up, then you need to deal with that. It's just that I never really thought about expressing gratitude for my money and being able to pay my bills.
Yeah.
The fact that I don't have a car payment, I don't have a mortgage, like all of those things are like incredible, right?
Yes. Well, it's
Yeah,
like saying, tis tis. I got a scratch on my Rolls Royce. Poor baby, right? But it's all in perspective. And ladies and
it
gentlemen,
is.
think about what we're talking about. think about what we're talking about. We're sharing so much wisdom right now. Do you really need to be happy? Yes, you deserve to be happy. You were put on this planet by God to be multiplied, to be fruitful, to find happiness, right? One of my favorite scriptures is the joy of the Lord is my strength. And what Sandee is saying is we can put all right, we can put all these coverings on the symptoms, but if you never go to the root, it's never going to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And what Sandee's trying to teach us today is go to the root of your unhappiness. Go to the root of that problem that's causing you not to be happy, that's causing you to be ungrateful. What is it for you? Maybe for you, you got divorced and you're putting all the blame on your ex-wife. It's her fault that you're where you're at now in life. Well, maybe she did have some stuff to do with it, but ultimately you have a decision to, like Sandee said, get your way out of that hole. You don't have to stay stuck there. Maybe for you, I mean, I think about when my wife Madi was diagnosed with breast cancer. We could have definitely played the victim there, but we didn't. Maybe for you, with all the stuff that happened in COVID here these last couple of years, you lost your job and you had that $100,000 job. Well, maybe you didn't have the character to sustain that. Maybe it was you that you were being shady and you were just being you became a butthead during that, right? You thought you were better than everybody and you started mistreating people. So really take ownership and find out what is the root problem of my unhappiness.
Yeah.
And maybe, like Sandee said, she was. I love what you said. She's being honest. I had the wrong relationship with money. Maybe for you, you have the wrong relationship with money, and you're always broke. So you're not happy because you see everybody else succeeding, and you want that. Well, go buy my book. Go to Amazon and get right. Go get the makings of a millionaire mind, or get where's your book at, Sandee? Go get Sandee's book.
It's Happiness Solved.
Yes, Happiness Solved. You actually go.
It's
Tell us about
behind
your
me.
book. Yeah, tell us your book. You have a copy there next to you?
Yeah, right there. Happiness Solved. So it is a part memoir. It's a part self-improvement and a workbook. So it's kind of 3 in 1. It's an easy read. I deliberately wrote this book to be something that you can sit down and pick up, and whatever day you pick it up and you open it, that's what you need to focus on. You know, kind of like, okay, just open it up. Okay. And I just opened it up to one of the things says comparing yourself to others. So because we were just talking about that. So yeah, so it's my own story. There's 4 chapters. That's my mini memoir. And then I talk about why we're unhappy. And there's chapters on gratitude, forgiveness, shifting your perspective, miracles, yeah. And then there's a workbook in the back of it as
so
well.
they can get that on Amazon.
Amazon in both the audio, Kindle, hardcover, and softcover.
Hold it up one more time. Hold it up one more time.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, go get your copy right now. Happiness Solved by the one and only Sandee Sgarlata. Go get your copy right now. And Sandee, I love what we're talking about because happiness is needed in this world today. Joy is needed. Smiles are needed. How many people? I mean, you and I travel a lot. We're always at airports, and it just appalls me how many people look so angry and mad because they're just unhappy people. So I'm coming to you right now. No, better. Let's do this. I want to jump ahead of myself. I want you to look in the camera and take a couple of minutes and talk to somebody, and they're like, Sandee, I wish I could be happy. Encourage that person right now. Encourage that person. Encourage those people right now that need a word of inspiration from Sandee of why they deserve to be happy and why happiness is important. Whatever God puts in your heart.
All right. Wow. I don't think anybody's ever asked me to do that, but hey, that's great. Here's the thing. There's always someone who has it worse off than you. Okay. We all have pain, and you can't compare your pain to someone else's pain and say that this one is worse or that one is worse, or my pain wasn't as bad as that one, or my pain's worse than this one, because pain is pain. And if you're feeling pain for the very first time, it's real. And it's the most horrible thing that's ever happened to you. You need to sit with that pain and go through it, right? Because you can't go over it, under it, or around it. You have to go through that pain and feel it. And when you get to the other side, I promise you, you will recognize that happened for you and not to you. And when you can get to the point where you can honestly say, wow, look at why this happened to me, and look at what a difference I can now make in the world with myself and everybody else I touch. And that's the big thing, use it to ignite a purpose in your life. But you too can be happy, because I tell you, you read my book, I've been hell and back so many times, like there's not even enough time here to tell you how many times I've been to hell and back. Now, was it as bad as some people? Of course not. But it was my hell. I own it. And it was horrible. And I wouldn't wish what I had to go through on anybody. So I promise you, you can be happy. Follow the steps I outline in the book, and you'll be there. You can definitely get there. Anybody can achieve it. It's not just the lucky ones in life. Everybody can be happy. It's what God wants for us. It's what we deserve.
Happiness is attainable, ladies and gentlemen. Happiness is within your reach. Think about that. Write that down. Happiness is attainable. Happiness is within your reach. And like Sandee said, everybody deserves it. Maybe that's your block. Maybe that's what you're thinking. You're thinking that, Daniel, you just don't know what I've done in life. Well, I don't know what you've done or not done, but I think it was the story of the prodigal son that took out his inheritance and squandered the equivalent to millions and woke up in a pig's pen, and the father still took him back, and God will take you back. There's nothing that should take away your joy to take away your happiness. And maybe you're wondering, right, Daniel, it might work for you, but I don't know if it can. You got to open your heart. I think one of the main things, Sandee, is that people don't truly open their hearts. We try to think too much with our intellect. And I say that because I've seen, and I had to work through this, because so many people are hurt, right? Whether we're backstabbed by a friend, a business partner, or just a relationship, right? Relationships are messy. It's part of it. It's part of it. Yeah. So because of that, we close our heart. And then this is what happened to me. I didn't realize how cold my heart was. Like, I didn't care, right? When you don't care, it's a negative energy. So you're not gonna be happy. So talk to us as we come to the final runway of the show. Is how important is it to open up your heart to truly receive and feel and live in that happiness you deserve?
Well, what I got from what you just said is opening up that heart really requires that you apply some self-love, and that if you really need to love yourself in order for you to be able to open up your heart to not only love others, but to just find happiness in your life, and to be kind. I mean, it's just so many people are unkind and they're unhappy because they hate themselves. And I lived that life for so many years. I did not like, and there's sometimes still to this day, because I feel like it's especially true with women. There's still times to this day where I get very upset with myself. I can tell you right now, I had a situation with my son over the weekend, and it was it was a very short thing. But because of that, like, I was being so hard on myself, because I know that sometimes the way he acts is because of the way I raised him. And I own that, right? I wasn't the perfect mother. I feel like in today's world, we do have some kids that are a little spoiled, and I know my son is no different, and I own that, and I take responsibility. But then what I had to do is give myself a lot of self-love, be like, it's okay. Forgive yourself, because my son forgives me and God forgives me, and it's okay. Like, darn it, I was a real good mother, but I was not perfect. I was definitely not perfect. And hindsight's 2020, and you look back and you're like, ugh, and you see that now that he's an adult, I'm like, oh boy. I will say to his wife, I'm sorry.
I think what you're just saying is so important. They need to understand that you have to show yourself some grace. We have to show ourselves some compassion.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes our biggest critic is us. Our biggest person that comes with that judgment hammer is us. And we got to not be kind to yourself. you definitely want to have boundaries. You definitely want to take responsibility for what we do, but there is a time for that, and there's a time also to show yourself grace and to show yourself compassion. And I think that's what you're saying is love yourself enough to forgive yourself, love yourself enough to have compassion for yourself, and love yourself enough to just let that grace abound, because it's not a matter of if, it's when, right? When we make a failure as a husband, as a wife, as a parent,
Right.
as a boss, it's going to happen. But you can't beat yourself up, and you're right. So many times we're unhappy because we approach things wrong, or we made a bad business decision, or we made a bad judgment call. It happens.
Yeah.
But don't let that cost you your happiness. Would you
Right.
agree with
I
that?
mean, I totally agree with it. And just to bring it full circle, that's why I'm a happiness coach. And I own America's Happiness Coach because I feel like not many people are willing to be as authentic as I am. And I'm like, look, yes, I'm happy. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I have periods of unhappiness? Of course I do. And that's what makes me America's Happiness Coach, because you know what? That's life.
Boom, baby! I
I
love
want to
it.
let people off the hook.
Yeah.
Like, saying that you're happy doesn't mean you got to be happy 24/7. Science proves that the happiest people are the ones that experience the full range of emotions. You
Yes.
have to feel everything. It's okay.
And I got another tip for them too, since we're on the happiness. We're gonna call this the happiness show. Is watch Good Morning. Watch Family Feud before you go to bed. Me and Marty, I don't know how we got hooked on this, but
What do you
pretty much
watch?
Family Feud with Steve Harvey. He's funny.
Oh, I love that. We watch Family Feud every single day. It's so much fun.
So at 9 o'clock, we always catch a 30-minute last episode of the Family Feud on the game show channels. But he's just so fun. Like last night, it was just
Yeah.
hilarious. But you need that laughter too, and laughter just brings out that
Yes.
energy, that smile, the
Yeah.
happiness, and I think you gotta allow yourself to laugh every day, some way, somehow. And
Absolutely.
so what is a scripture or a quote that Sandee relies on during times that she's not happy, right? Those times of adversity when you're not happy. What is a scripture or quote that Sandee relies on to get her back on track?
There's so many. I would say it's probably my favorite quote, which is peace. It's not about being in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. It's about being in the midst of those things and still feeling calm in your heart.
Ooh, say that again. I like that.
Peace. It's not about being in a place where there's no noise, trouble, or hard work. It's about being in the midst of those things and still feeling calm in your heart.
I love it. I love it. Sandee, if somebody wants to work with the happiness coach, how do they get a hold of you?
Sandee at sandeesgarlata.com. Instagram is at Coach Sandee Sgarlata. Facebook, Coach Sandee Sgarlata. And then also my personal page is Sandee Sgarlata Addison.
And then you have an amazing podcast. What's the name of your podcast? That way our audience can tap into that also for some.
It's Happiness Solved.
There it is. That was easy.
The
Woo!
logo's right back there. Happiness Solved.
Well, I love it. I love it.
Happiness
Happiness
Solved.
Off podcast. Well, Sandee, thank you for being an amazing guest. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for this week's episode. If you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, go to danielgomezglobal.com. That's danielgomezglobal.com. Do our business assessment there. It's a free entrepreneur assessment, and send us a message through our website, through our contacts. I want to bless you with a complimentary discovery session. And better yet, go to themakingsofamillionairemind.com. Get our new book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. Get your autographed copy and get our course while you're there. It's impacting hundreds and hundreds of lives. I'll tell you what, we love it. And better yet, March 18th and 19th, come to San Antonio, Texas at the Makings of a Millionaire Mind Bootcamp. That's the Makings of a Millionaire Mind. Yes, a live bootcamp is going to increase your revenue. It's going to increase your income. It's going to transform your heart. And that's where the real transformation is going to come to really develop that millionaire mind. So we'll see you in San Antonio, Texas on November 18th and 19th. Give me a call at 210-663-5954. We want to see you in San Antonio, Texas. Once again, thank you, Sandee. Woo!
Thank you, Daniel.
This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.